who are coming together in the morning for our practice. And for some of you, that's a commitment to wake up in the morning. For others, we have a morning rhythm already. For each of us, let's acknowledge that we got here and that we're here together. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunakto Saviryang Bharavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavai. So we've come together. Saha means together. We've come together for our practice. So allow yourself to arrive in your body, your breath, your mind, your heart, your deepest wisdom. And to the extent possible, release the riffraff of the mind, the mental dust bunnies. As you lengthen your spine, now start to draw in the ujjayi breath. So you have this conduit, this rising inhale, this internally toning exhale. And let the sound of the breath captivate your attention from the inner ear. Now, as you're able to with the ujjayi breath, also allow the inhale, whatever pace it is, you can gently count it to yourself. Let that be reflected in the exhale. So your in-breath and your out-breath will be relatively equal. Now, keeping the breath relatively equal, take your arms out gently to your sides, turn your palms face out. Touch your fingers to the floor if you can. And sensing the earth on which you are sitting and the earth which you are touching lightly with your fingers. When you inhale ujjayi, sweep the arms wide, gathering in everything and everyone. Raise your arms up overhead. And then exhale, hands down to your heart. And repeating that, take the arms out to the side, turn your palms face out, and inhale. So you're balancing the in-breath and the out-breath still. As you raise your arms up, gather in everything and everyone. And then exhale and bring that down into your heart. Your heart has a wide capacity. And now one more time. Ujjayi inhale. And the ujjayi exhale. And we'll begin now with the chant together. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunakto Savidyang Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidveshavai. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunakto Savidyang Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidveshavai. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunakto Savidyang Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidveshavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. You may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. You can keep your gaze inward and place your hands out over your knees. We're going to repeat a little bit from yesterday. So when your hands go over your knees, now make a circle of the torso, circling around the center of the pelvic floor. And when you're circling like this, it's okay to bend the elbows as you go a little bit side to side. Give yourself a little bit more freedom there. And as you're circling, see if you could keep the 4 points of the pelvis grounded. So the back of the sitting bones, each of the sitting bones, the tailbone, the pubic bone, they're not all touching the ground, but they are touching something. Perhaps you can sense, let's go the other way. You can sense a kind of evenness of rooting down. Sometimes we circle in one direction and the opposite sitting bone gets light. And so bring your attention to that. Let's change directions again and start to use your ujjayi breath in rhythm with the circles. So maybe it's like 3 or 4 circles for your inhale. Please change directions. Possibly 3 or 4 circles for the exhale. So you have 2 rhythms going on. Let's change directions again. You have the rhythm of the circle and the rhythm of the breath. And they can collaborate without being identical. Now I will ask you to slow down the circles. Change directions. And then slow it down a little bit more, change directions again. And notice what happens when you slow down the circle, what happens to your awareness, your mind, your breath, your sensations. Change directions one more time and go a little bit slower. And also begin to incrementally make the circle smaller. So you're coming around like a spiral or a labyrinth, coming into your plumb line. When you arrive in that plumb line, try to sense the center of the pelvic floor. So between the tailbone and the pubic bones, between the two sitting bones. You can imagine a connection that goes from that center down into the earth and upward through your plumb line towards the crown of your skull. And begin your ujjayi breath up and down that plumb line, please. Make your hands firm over your knees, and as you inhale, raise up like a cow pose spine. Exhale, curl down like a cat pose spine. Inhale, raise up. Let the back hemisphere of the pelvic floor open with the in-breath. Exhale, curl down and tone the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor, especially at the end of your exhalation. Inhale, roll up. Exhale, roll down. So the movement in both cases begins at the pelvis and the pelvic floor. Inhale, open the back of the pelvis floor as you raise up. Exhale, tone the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor as you curl down and make that tone incrementally stronger towards the end. One more time. Exhale, curl down. We're going to complete the exhale and then simply come to an upright seat. And then cross your left hand to be with your right hand. And so you've rotated the pelvis slightly, and you're going to experience this in a different way. Inhale, raise up like a cow pose spine. And exhale, curl down and focus on the left sitting bone and the left low belly. Inhale, raise up, open the back hemisphere of the pelvic floor, especially on the left side. Exhale, curl down. Once more, inhale, raise up. Exhale, roll down. Come to center, so your left hand can go back to your left knee and cross your right hand over your left. And then inhale, raise up. Exhale, curl down. Focus at the right hemisphere of the pelvic floor, tone near your right sitting bone. Inhale, roll up as you glide the right sitting bone slightly back. Lift your chest and your heart. Exhale, roll down. One more time. Come to center. Rest both hands out over your knees, palms face down. And bring attention down into the pelvic floor, down into the base of your pelvis. And we'll chant the sound LAM, L-A-M, 5 in one set, 5 times. Lam, 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 lam. 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 Please interlace your fingers, point the heels of your hands straight down, and using the ujjayi breath, inhale to raise upwards slowly. Now turn your palms face down and exhale, pull the left elbow down, right elbow up. And inhale, side bend to your left. Exhale, rise up, press your arms up. Inhale while you're here. Exhale, right elbow down, left elbow up. Inhale, side bend to your right. Exhale, rise. Notice the left low belly bringing you back up. Inhale while you're here. Exhale, side bend to your left. Place your left palm on the floor. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, side bend to your right. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, sweep your arms wide and reach back to clasp your hands at the small of your back. Inhale, roll up, root down into your sitting bones, open your chest like cow pose. And exhale, bow forward. And as you bow forward, if possible, you rest your head on the floor, raise the arms up behind you. And then inhale, rise up to your seat. Release the clasp of your hands, rest them on your knees. So the root there, we're a little bit like a slinky that's not letting the stabilization go. Right? And that root gets resourced when we come back to center. And when it's stable enough, it lets us have the adventure of moving out from that center. So now we're going to do a brisk experience to wake up the body, to wake up the inner experience, and then we'll come back down to lum, 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 like this. So we're going to inhale the arms up, exhale, pull down. All right, so it's a brisk breath through the nose. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale to go up. Exhale, push out. And down, return your hands to your knees and your attention to the base of the pelvis. And tone the center of the pelvic floor. So during the lum, 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 the pelvic floor tone is consistent and the sound of your chanting is consistent as well. We'll do it 5 times. Lum, 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 lum. 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 And please come to your hands and knees in table pose. Come on in. One moment. Hi. Hi. Come on in. You can be here. Yeah. Okay, place your hands in table pose. And then come into cow pose. Like yesterday, I'm going to ask you to place the spine in cow pose here and sense the 2 sitting bones. So inhale in your cow pose, slide the pubic bone back and stretch the lower abdomen. And then exhale, curl your tailbone towards your pubic bone and begin to broaden your lower back, round your spine, cat pose. Now slide the pubic bone back and stretch into the lower belly. Lift and widen your sitting bones. And then make a circle to your left, down, right, up. And continue that circle so you can sense it moving through your sitting bones. Your hands and knees can be stable, please. And the shoulders are relatively stable, though they might respond to what's happening in the pelvis. Your shoulders aren't the movers of the pelvis right now. And see if you can also pair the breath with your action. So you may have like 1 long inhale for 2 circles or 3. Let's change directions with the circles, please. Notice if that becomes like it has an unusual feeling for you, or if they're relatively equal left to right. The circle that you're making, you can imagine as if you were drawing 2 circles on the wall behind you from the sitting bones. Let's make that circle pretty smooth and relatively round. But notice, change directions again, please. Notice if what's happening is your circle is bumpy or staccato. And then slowly bring that back to center until you find yourself in cow pose. Take the sitting bones back, lengthen your lower belly, and then in cow pose, I'd like you to press down into your right hand and lift your left sitting bone a little bit more. And then keeping those two focusing together, right hand, left sitting bone, come into cat pose. Switch to your left hand and right sitting bone. And come to cow pose. Reach your right sitting bone back, root your left hand firmly down. Cat pose again. Right sitting bone, left hand. And switch to your left knee and left sitting bone and right hand. Cow pose. And right hand, left knee, left sitting bone, cat pose. Switch left hand, right sitting bone, right knee. Last time, cow pose. And then find your way back to a symmetrical table pose. Now walk your right hand well forward of your left, touch the left elbow down, and reach way back with both hips. Shift your feet and your shins to the left like we did yesterday. Swivel the right sitting bone farther back than the left. Take a deep breath in, please. Exhale thoughtfully and observe the tone you come to in the deep, low abdomen. Press into your left palm. Inhale up. Change sides, please. Left hand forward. Reach back with your sitting bones. Lower your right elbow to the floor. Glide your feet and your shins to your right. Reach the left sitting bone way back, so the left side waist will be longer than the right. Enjoy a deep breath into your left low belly and observe the tone that you can create as you come towards the exhale. And then inhale, press into your right hand, glide back to table pose. Now I'd like you to take your right hand forward, but also diagonal. So step it forward, put your right hand in front of your left hand, come to the back of your right hand, and then reach down again. So now your right arm is on the diagonal. Swivel your feet also to your left. You can rest your head on your right upper arm. Glide your right sitting bone back and the left sitting bone a little bit wide to the left. Take a deep breath in. And then press into your left hand. Inhale, return to table. Take the left hand forward of your right, turn to the back of your left hand. And as you come down, swivel your feet and your shins to the right. Glide your left sitting bone over towards your right sitting bone. You may choose to rest your head on your left upper arm. Deep breath into the pelvis. And then as you exhale, press into your right hand, return to table pose. Set yourself up on your mat where your table pose can become your downward dog pose. And as you're ready to raise your hips high, reach back, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Now, when you reach back into downward dog pose, consider a couple of the qualities of the first chakra, Muladhara. It means that we have a place of feeling rooted. It is the root chakra. A sense of stability, a sense of groundedness. So as you're reaching back, press into all 10 toes, energize your leg muscles, reach the hips back equally with both sitting bones, inner thighs, outer thighs, pubic bones, tailbone. Notice the tone of the exhale from your pubic bone up the front line of the belly, a little bit like a zipper. And then raise up high on your toes like we did yesterday. Lift your heels very high, press into all 10 toes, bend your knees, and come down towards the floor without actually touching the floor with your knees. Bend the knees, take your hips back towards your heels, and then press down into your toes and again raise your legs and your hips up into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Let's do that again. Raise up high on your heels so the toes are very grounded. Reach your knees towards your chest, your hips way back towards your heels. No need to touch the floor with the knees. Keep the arms steady. And then raise up one more time, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And then walk your feet forward and your hands back until you're in the pose called Uttanasana. And here I'd like you to take your hands under your feet from the front side. So you're going to stand on your hands, put your toes close to your wrists, and your fingers can go under your arches. Okay, lengthen your spine so that the back of your neck and the back of your heart are long. Take a deep breath into the low belly. And then as you exhale, bend your elbows out to the side as needed to bring your torso down towards Uttanasana. Thank you to the feet for everything they do for us in daily life. You can walk your hands out from under your toes and heels. Bring your hands up to your hips and please rise up to standing. When you come up to stand, come into your full height in mountain pose. Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunakto, saviryam karavavai, tejasvinavaditamastu, ma viveshavai. We're here practicing together. Please bring your hands to your heart. Okay, let's take the blanket that you were sitting on, and I'd like you to roll it. So if you unfold it like this, and you roll it snugly, the most snug part needs to be in the center. And we're going to place it so that your toes go up on the blanket. I know you can't see my feet there the way the camera turned out. So you put your toes up on the blanket. Yeah. You can come. Hi. The toes are on the blanket. Yeah. You want to put your toes on the blanket? It's okay. Yeah. If you want to. Okay, so toes up on the blanket means that you're going to be a little bit unstable in the first part of the sun salutation. Join your palms together, please, at your heart. Come into your ujjayi breath. And as you inhale, sweep your hands down, wide and up. You exhale, take the arms wide and slowly come forward into Uttanasana with the toes raised. So you have this calf stretch going on. Inhale, lengthen forward through your heart. You can place your fingers on your blanket if it helps you, or use a couple of blocks. Exhale, bow deeply towards your legs. Inhale, glide forward. Now, place your hands on the floor in front of your blanket and walk your feet back to downward dog pose. And in this downward dog pose, let's consider the hands and the feet to be an essential part of your downward dog. With your hands in front of the blanket, so the blanket is actually under your forearms. Keep your forearms a bit raised so that you are rooting down into your fingerprints and your knuckles. The heels of your hands may be touching, but we want the arms to be less likely to hammock towards the floor. Broaden the back hemisphere of your body, please. And then equally reach back with your legs, make them strong as you root back through the tops of your thighs and down through your heels. Energize your toes. And then inhale, roll forward to plank pose. Okay, stay for several breath cycles, making the breath smooth and consistent, even in plank pose. Now from your plank pose, step over the top of one foot so your toes are pointed, and then do that with the other foot and come into seal pose. Lift up through your chest and your heart. And then exhale, bend your elbows, lower your belly button onto the blanket. It's right there. Curl over the blanket. Pranam, bow your forehead down. Okay, inhale, roll up, cobra pose. The belly button, yes, is on the blanket, and your forearms are lightly touching the blanket as well. And inhale, rise up to seal pose. Keep the legs strong behind you. Press the tops of your feet down. Energize the inner thighs. And exhale, slide your shoulders back. Bend your elbows. Bring your belly button onto the blanket. Pranam, bow your forehead down. And then again, inhale, roll up. Cobra, slide the shoulders back. Rise up to seal. And now exhale, curl your toes under, plank pose. And then downward facing dog pose. And let the rolled blanket inform you as to how to keep your forearms lifted and your hands grounded. So your root system right now includes your hands and your feet. And then take a big step forward with one foot. You probably won't step right up onto the blanket, but take the second foot forward. Put your toes back up on your blanket, please. Root down into both heels. Use the toes on the blanket like a bird on a dowel. Inhale, glide your heart forward. Exhale, a deep bow towards the legs. And inhale, rise up, upward hands pose. And exhale, hands to your heart. Step backwards off of your blanket. Mountain pose. Okay, let's put the blanket now rolled up at the back of your mat and place it there. You may not exactly know where it's going to need to be, but you're going to find your way. I support you to improvise as needed, and join your hands at your heart. Okay, inhale, Urdhva. Exhale, chair pose. Inhale, rise up, root down into your feet, tone the inner thighs. Exhale, Uttanasana, also toning the upper inner thighs. Inhale, glide your heart forward. Place your hands and step backwards to downward dog pose with your toes in front of your blanket and your heels on your blanket. So that's where your distance is right now. Just keep that in mind. Inhale, roll forward to plank. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Come onto your stomach. Point your toes. Inhale, rise up, Bhujangasana. Exhale, bow forward, Pranam. Now inhale, rise up to seal pose. Press down with the tops of your thighs and the tops of your feet. And exhale, roll down, Pranam. Curl your toes under. Inhale up to plank. And exhale back, downward facing dog pose. And the blanket is there for your heels. Now, keeping your arms very strong and the elbows straight, walk one hand at a time backwards until you are at the back of your mat with your heels on your blanket. And then bend the knees, come way down to malasana. Put the knees into the armpits. Drape your torso over your thighs. You can have the knees at the armpits, or for some of you, a little bit wider if that's more helpful to you. So from a place of stability, which is so essential at the root, from this place of stability, we are able to have the adventure moving outwards into life. So from this malasana, I'm going to ask you now to reach your arms forward and then roll yourself forward into the toe balance pose and raise your arms up overhead. So your knees are going to come forward like you have a little lap. So if your kitten were to jump up, they could rest right there on your thighs. You don't have to put the hips on the heels. In fact, raise up the pelvic floor a little bit so you're balancing from your feet, your arches, your pelvic floor. And then start to roll back down to malasana. Place your heels on the blankets, reach forward, bow your head, drape the torso over your thighs. And then roll again to the toe balance pose. I just had to surrender my water glass to my cat because she got to it before I did. That means it is no longer mine. It's hers. And one more time, come into malasana. Okay, now make the arms straight and strong, and you're going to start walking forward to return to your downward dog pose. And the walk forward, you can press your heels back to your blanket. And then inhale enthusiastically. With an exhale, sweep your right foot forward between your hands, touch your left knee down to the floor, and inhale, rise up, ujjayi asana. So let the hips glide forward and try to sense the work you were just doing in the pelvis. What contribution does that make here to root your tailbone and lift the inner belly? And then exhale, bow over your right leg. Please touch the floor with your fingertips first. Curl your left toes under, straighten your left leg. Be enthusiastic back there. So even tone the left butt muscles. Then inhale to rise, crescent. Root into your right hip, your right heel. Good. And if you can keep your balance, please raise your gaze up. And with an exhale, sweep your arms wide. Now keep the right heel and toes grounded. Lightly touch the floor or use a couple of blocks. And inhale, float forward, Ekapada Uttanasana. Raise your left leg high towards the ceiling. Whatever amount your right hip and hamstrings can support you to do. Look down at your right inner arch. We want that to still be lifted. Look inward at the smoothness of the breath. That's one of your essential stabilizing supports. Now, as you exhale, begin to bend your left knee. Take the toes of your right foot way back so it's one long step all the way back. And then Adho Mukha Svanasana with your hip heels up on your blanket. And then with an exhale, take your left foot forward between your hands, touch your right knee down to the floor. Ujjayi asana. Yes, rise up, glide your hips forward without any sense of sort of creasing into or collapsing into your left hip. Lift upwards like a fountaining from the base of the pelvis, upwards. Root into the top of your right knee, your right foot, left heel, left toes. And then as you exhale, sweep your arms wide, stretch out, lightly touch the floor. Curl your right toes under, strengthen your right leg. And then inhale, rise up, crescent. Yeah, make the back leg strong, even the right hip, the posterior hip muscles, those are still there with you. Good. Breathe in. If you can keep your balance, go ahead and look up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, start taking the arms wide. Come smoothly and slowly forward, using your blocks or the floor. Inhale, step forward, Ekapada Uttanasana. Raise your right leg high. Root down from your left outer hip into your left outer heel. Take a little gaze at your left inner arch, which should be lifted. Not that the ankle or the leg are going sideways, but you have the arch lifted. And then again, exhale, bend your left knee. Take one long step back with the toes of your right foot. Place your fingertips and then your palms and reach back to downward facing dog pose with your blanket for your heels. Acting like a tiger in the jungle, keep your elbows straight and walk back slowly. Your hands come towards your feet. And then return to malasana with your heels supported by the blanket. Drape your torso forward over your thighs. Reach the arms forward. Roll yourself forward to the toe balance pose. Raise your arms up if you can. We're not resting the hips on the heels here. And then knees to your chest. Roll again, malasana. This time, let's try putting the knees more snugly together. With the knees still together as best as you can. Start rolling them forward one more time to the toe balance pose. So you raise the heels, keep the low belly toned, float the knees forward, hover your hips just above your heels. And then when the knees are coming towards your chest again, go slowly. So gravity is going to help you return to this little snug position. No need to rush it. Wrap your arms around your shins. And then take your hands forward. Okay, roll the knees down. Pranam, touch the forehead down. Point your toes. Bring yourself up to Vajrasana, kneeling position, thunderbolt pose. Now sensing when you're here that your circulation has not been really permitted down from your hips to your heels so well. So I know that's still occurring for you. Just a few more moments, please. Okay, now to sense what happens with that process in the body when we have limited circulation because of the poses, especially things like malasana, child's pose, some of the seated twisty bindy poses. We don't have full circulation down through the legs. Now we're going to come momentarily onto the back, please. Stretch your legs out. And watch the process of that recirculation going down. Like sense the return that goes to your feet. Place your mind on those sensations. Be in the direct experience. It's happening in the here and now. Okay, and then reach for a yoga strap, please. Okay, with your yoga strap, I also would like you to have a block, one for each side. If you only have one block, of course, you can change it over to the other side. Please take your right foot up in the strap. Cinch it, so it's got your right hand in there with your right foot. Lengthen the left leg out on the floor. So the block is going to go just here to the outside of your hip, right behind the trochanter. So what I did is I picked up a little bit, and right there is the trochanter bone. And I can put the block, so it's just supporting the backside of this large bony structure called the trochanter. So in the chakra system, the root chakra is really about our sense of connection to the earth. That's its element. Our sense of connection to that which grounds, roots, and stabilizes us. So in this position, with the block at the back of your trochanter there, reach up into the mound of the big toe on your right foot and root down with your left leg. Try to sense the support your left hip and left leg are providing. And then start just gently opening your right leg out to the side. The block should stay there, and my hope is that it feels like it's preventing you from tipping over, but it's also going to reveal to you some information about the inner thigh. Yeah. Good, I can see you on my monitor there. Yeah, nice job. How far you go is not being measured by anybody, so no striving or straining for a certain end range. You allow for a deep breath in. And notice again how grounded is your left hip, your left thigh, your left calf, your left heel. And there might be sensations from the block at the back of your right thigh that are strong. They're on purpose. But feel into your upper inner right thigh, please. And then raise your right leg back up to center slowly. And release the strap from your foot. Come down and return your right leg to Shavasana. Notice now the circulation going down your right leg. And that will happen because your leg was up in the air, which means the circulation wasn't really going so strongly towards your right foot. Okay, let's take the other leg for the strap. So place your strap on your left foot. Loop your left hand in there. First, you want to secure the block to be at the ready under your left outer hip. Reach strongly up from the inner seam of your left leg to the mound of the big toe. And notice the grounding you can create from your right hip to your right hamstring, the calf, and the back of your heel. So that even as you open your left leg out to the side, you're not leaving home. You get to stay at the root. You get to stay intact there. And because the block, I hope it prevents you from tipping, It may also highlight for you places in the upper inner thigh that are normally a part of why you're tipping in this position. So energize the inseam of your left leg. Energize the rooting of your right hip, right hamstring, right calf. And then with an inhalation, start to bring your left leg slowly up. Good, and take your foot out of the strap and lower it down. And again, notice the circulation that's going to return to your right foot. Take your arms out to the side, turn your palms face up. Let yourself deeply rest. We're preserving time at the end of this class for pranayama. And it's really helpful to have your mind reset by your savasana before that pranayama. So keep your mind at rest on your feet, receiving the circulation. You're going to imagine the quality of grounding, rooting, stabilizing. The earth remembers you and she's welcoming you back home. Invite your body to get heavy, to be supported. Allow your mind to be very still inside the simple sensations of grounding, like the backs of your heels, the backs of your calves. Keep noticing moment to moment. It's this simple heaviness or groundedness at the back of your heels, the back of your calves, the back of your hips. Allow that groundedness or heaviness to go a little bit deeper. You can sense you are comprised of the earth. It's one of the elements that makes you. And she welcomes you to rest right now, to come home. Now you may begin to sense the aliveness of your body even when you're very still. So don't move the mind all that much, but sense the circulation, the pulsation in your toes, in your feet. In your ankles, the legs, and into the pelvis. And begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Bend your knees. Please roll to your side with a blanket nearby and a couple of blocks. Rise up to sit and put aside your yoga strap. You won't need that. Come to Vajrasana, please. When you come to Vajrasana, make two fists that are going to go down in the pelvis here. And where your fists are touching the belly, I'd like you just to sense what happens for you when you're singing the lum and you get to the last M and there's a hum, a vibration. What happens in the low belly? We'll do it 5 for 5. Lum, 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 lum. Lum, lum, In a moment, we're going to inhale each of us at our own pace. We're going to exhale each of us at our own pace. Coming forward, the fists will go into the belly. At the bottom of your pace for your exhale, you'll have released the exhale completely. And while down in this position, we will suspend the exhale, but also relax the belly during that suspension. And then we'll inhale to come back up. We'll do this just 3 times. Breathe in at your own pace for the inhale. With your pace, come to the exhale. The fists squeeze into the belly. You tone the belly to squeeze the exhale out. And without inhaling, then deeply relax all of the exhale muscles. In your timing, you'll inhale to return. Back up to your seat, please. And twice more. When you come up for the 3rd time there, then reach for your blanket and return to your meditation seat. You can rest one hand in the lap of the other like a small meditation bowl. And rest your attention down at the root, the place where you become stabilized, reconnected to the earth. Able to navigate the adventures of daily life without losing your sense of ground or the essential taproot that connects you. Observe any access you have to a quality of mental groundedness. And this taproot is the tradition of yoga, a long time teachings of yoga. Also the earth and her ability to sustain life. And our Sangha is also part of our taproot. So placing your intention for today, how will you remember your taproot? What will that feel like? Place that in the center of your palms. And as you next inhale, raise that intention upwards towards your heart. Place it in your heart. Place it in the center of your palms. Anjali Mudra. Make your dedication. You bow your head to your heart. Others are doing the same. The thumbs can go up at the third eye or the sixth chakra. May each of us do our very best today to steward the earth and the ecology, to have a place of grounding and rooting, to know where our taproot is, even as we are required to, invited to adventure into the day. You bring that back down into your heart. And then we make it an offering to each other. May you also have a day where you are grounded, you are stable, and you're a fellow steward of the earth and the ecology and of yoga. Then you receive their blessings for you. Place those in your Anjali Mudra. Touch the heart, nourish the heart. Return to your intention. Everyone is rooting for everybody else. The different use of the word root. Everyone's rooting for everybody else.